And we continue our webinar. As I mentioned, you will see this recording later in our post-training feedback letter. You can find a link for this video and other useful additional materials. And it's a great pleasure. It's a great pleasure to collaborate with World Now company and World Now leaders. And Supersonic Studios is a mobile game studio, publisher, and studio with headquartered in Tel Aviv. And Supersonic is a part of Iron Source company. And it's a great pleasure for me and Innovecs to introduce Karen Levy, Director of Creative at Supersonic Studios. And Karen will share tips and tricks for making killer game creatives with Luna Playable. And I think it will be a great case study from Karen. And please meet Karen.
Thank you, Igor. It's a pleasure. I'm happy to be here. I'll just share my screen.
Yeah, all's good.
Okay. So it's fine. You see my screen? Okay. So hi everyone. I'm really excited being here today, showing you a little bit about our creative activity in Supersonic, talking a little bit about Iron Source and how we're using Luna really to make killer creatives at Supersonic. A little bit about myself. So my name is Karen Levy. I am the Director of Creatives at Supersonic. Been working in Iron Source for almost 7 years in different business in the mobile business positions in the mobile, from user acquisition, monetization, performance, until I've shifted to the creative zone, which I am in love with. And right now leading the creative team in Supersonic. Okay, so what I'm going to introduce today, a little bit just the agenda. First of all, Queen Gambit is going to lead us along the way, as I think she's a queen in a lot of different things, and also a lot of thinking behind creatives and products that we're using. So we'll introduce Supersonic and Iron Source, talk a little bit about the creative team, user acquisition, which is just a part that we cannot ignore when working on creatives in the mobile industry and gaming. Playable Production, how Luna is really blending into our in-house production and teams, and then talk about success stories that we have with the Luna platform that we're using to build the playables. We will focus on playables only at this part, but of course, as you heard, there's also the Luna Replay, which is for video building that we're also using, but that would be for another session probably. So Supersonic is owned by Iron Source, and just a little bit about Iron Source, that was established in 2010. I think we're already a bit above 900 employees, and half of it is R&D employees, very focused on tech, on developing products, really to have those tools that will help us achieve our eventually business goals. You can see the spread globally around the world, and where we have these cute crowns is where Supersonic is also existing and working in those offices. We are mostly like the HQ is based in Tel Aviv. We do have a very big office in Kiev, part of in the Innovecs and Minsk for Supersonic. In the last 2 years, Iron Source has been shown as being the top network in what comes to quality and volume in all the area of gaming. This report is being published by AppsFlyer, okay, one of the biggest companies for tracking. And in the last 2 years, we were really the independent network, basically in the first place after Google and Facebook, which is a great achievement and really something that helped us to achieve the place we're today, and also build Supersonic in really quick and fast pace. And Supersonic has been established at only this January, which is amazing. Soon you'll see the amount of games that we have published that reach the top charts. As I mentioned, HQ in Tel Aviv. It's an independent company, but is owned by ironSource, and mainly providing a third-party publishing solutions, and also in-house team for building games. So really, since January, we had around 20 games that we published, and 16 of them were in the top charts, which is a really big achievement, and are continuing to drive installs and working very hard on that. And this is really what pushed us a lot to achieve the place we're today, reaching in the top 5 publishing companies in the hyper-casual industry. A little bit about the creative team. So you can see there's here a combination in those nice days where we could all visit offices. So we had like a really big visit from the guys in Kiev in our HQ here, and have a combination of different, we call it squads, as you see, because this is our methodology of working in our creative team, is we believe that we need to work in squads, combining different professionals in the same group in order to achieve better results at the end with our creatives, including data analysis, motion designers, engineers, game designers. You can see a really wide range of different professionals in the team to really achieve eventually an end goal of the best creatives for the best games. And a little bit about the user acquisition. As I said, creatives are part of the user acquisition. We cannot ignore them. We cannot leave that aside and just make creatives, as we need to understand that we have a performance goal of really providing creatives that will perform, that will increase the performance and help the game to be a successful game. And one of the things that in user acquisition we will want to achieve is really a competitive eCPM, which is a cost per mil. And eCPM is actually your buying power in user acquisition. With the eCPM, you can achieve better results by making your game more marketable, and by that really achieve better results, better scale, more installs. The eCPM is combined with IPM and bid. We're not going to drill down into that too much, but you can see that as long as we will focus on that, we have different zones of marketability in different ranges of eCPM. And if you look at the lower range of the eCPM, if we will be here and will not be able to achieve a high IPM, the game will not be marketability, and we will not be able to scale. While if we will increase it, we will be in a zone where we will be able to scale. And if we reach the fun zone, then here we are able to even increase our profit as a game developer for the game and really achieve amazing results with it. So to achieve that IPM, we need always to challenge our current creatives okay? And always look to how are we scaling the IPM, how are we improving what we have right now. As this is like a very generic graph that shows the situation, I think, across all creatives, across all games. Once you have a creative that has been launched and improved the performance, and you see really the scaling up the volumes and really achieving good performance, at some point that creative will start fading and performance will start dropping. And that is the point where we need to create a new iteration, a new creative, something that will really help us to drive more installs, to keep the marketability of the game, to keep it really on high volumes as much as we can. So it's new creatives, but also localizations, which are a very important part and can really boost the performance of a game and the creatives a lot, especially in China and Germany. And in general, new creatives will minimize the drop of the IPM by 16% approximately. So it is something that we're looking to always keep in our mind in our production planning for each game. And we're doing that, and this is really focusing mainly on Supersonic, hyper casual, the creative team. We're doing all of that that I've mentioned up until now with using two different creative types. Mainly, these are the main creative types that I think in hyper casual, the most important ones. So first of all, of course, the playables that we're talking about today, short interaction and like a kind of a mini game to provide the user some understanding of what is he going to install to his device. The playable are being used mostly on the SDK networks and less on the social networks, and video, which is the biggest part of production, because the social networks are mainly working with the videos. This is the most of the time the best performing type of creative on the social in general. And to test a game at the beginning, you will do it with videos. So these are the two main focuses that we are doing. And in general, we are trying to really treat the creatives like you treat your game. Okay, it's super important because, as I said, it's just it cannot go alone. You cannot just create a game but neglect the part of the creatives while opening campaigns and trying to promote and gain new users into your game without thinking about the creatives. So if in a general process of creative, we have the impression and then the click to the store and an install, with the playable, we have a different experience, okay? We have a full experience between the impression and until the user will reach to the store. We have a whole world of different things that we can measure inside a playable. Also, through Luna, we can also see some of those metrics and really analyze those metrics to understand if my creative is working, if something is not going as I expected, or if I see a drop inside the funnel of the creative, if I see a lot of users dropping the playable in the middle, I will try to understand what is happening and how can I improve it. But also using and analyzing those metrics helps us, first of all, create a lot of different variants based on what we want to test and understand really what works, what should we focus going forward, how should we change the different variants that we will export now from the Luna or other playables, really to understand how to improve and put creatives that are attracting and engaging enough the users. And the most effective in-ad metrics in hyper casual, just summed it to like main three ones, is first of all the engagement. Okay, we are looking for an engagement rate of users In hyper casual, it would usually, the benchmark is around 80% of engagement rate of users that have seen the ad and engaged. Experience in hyper casual, we will talk a lot about losing versus winning. Okay, we know that in hyper casual, we want to usually provide variants that are a bit more harder, losing something that will challenge the user. This usually will provide us better results than providing a simple gameplay, a simple level that ends in a few seconds. And the time, okay? We don't have a lot of time to keep the user in the ad. So there are two different types of time that we are measuring. One is the time to engage, okay? We want to see where is our really sweet point of time to engage of users that has the highest probability to install. And in hyper casual, we're seeing that it's a very short time. You have around 2 to 3 seconds to really have the user engaged. After the third second, you will see a major drop in install, and probably those users, the chances of them to install will just get lower and lower. And the time to complete. Okay, we want users in hyper casual to complete the ad between 9 to 12 seconds, which is very, very short. And if we see that our funnel is too long and really reaches sometimes the 30 seconds, we will want to shorten it if we're talking about the hyper casual games, because as long as the gameplay will continue after the 12-second, we will just see a major drop in installs, and the probability to install will just drop more and more, and your performance will drop. And just to analyze, like when we're taking a playable and want to analyze its performance, we're putting it in some kind of this funnel analysis and trying to look between the variants. Where do we have the drops? Where do we have performance that is better? And we need to focus on that. For example, here in this chart, to look that 91% of the users that lost the game probably continued and installed eventually. Not going to drill down too much into this, but this is like how the funnel looks like when we put it into charts and really analyze it. And our goal all the time is to find the sweet spot, as I said. So to find the sweet spot, we have the benchmarks of the hyper casual. We know that these are the benchmarks, but we will always look independently on each playable, on each game, to understand really what is the sweet point at that specific game compared to the other creatives, and always try to improve and reach to that sweet point. Okay. A little bit about now the playable production itself, as I mentioned. So in Supersonic, in the creative team, we are working in two different ways. Today, we're here to focus really on our success stories using Luna. But there's also, I would like to emphasize the differences between using Luna with our in-house team and compared to our also in-house team that builds playable HTML playables from scratch, okay, not using any platform. But in Luna, as a creative team, we are holding Unity developer and a game designer for creating those playables, while in the in-house team, you can see that we need JavaScript developers, a game designer, and a graphic designer. Because we need to recreate those assets when we work internally in our in-house team. With Luna, we can externalize the production, while in the in-house team, we cannot, okay? With Luna, we can provide the game developer we're working with a login, and he can use Luna platform and create playables by himself for running the campaigns that we will open in Supersonic. But we cannot ask a game developer to build HTML playable from scratch and send it to us so we can run it. And in Luna, as you know, and as you saw in the session with Misha, you don't need any assets. You have the access to all the assets from the Unity project, while in the in-house we do require assets, okay? And we need to sometimes recreate them, which adds just time to the production, but it's something that is possible, but just adds some time. So go to the success stories that we had recently with Luna and the Playables. And the first one I would like to talk about, we'll talk about two different games. The first one would be Invincible Hero. Invincible Hero is not a typical hyper casual game. It's a really great game to use also Luna, and you'll see it in the last slide. We'll compare the two games, where you have a more complex art, complex gameplay, complex mechanism. Luna was the best solution we had to use for this game to export an amazing playable that really made this game successful eventually. You can see here a graph from App Annie of installs for the game. It was running on quite a low scale. And once we basically created the Luna Playable and it went live on the campaigns, you can see here a crazy spike here. This is the first Playable that we created with Luna for the game. We created a few more here. You can see like smaller spikes here. But this was also a very successful one. The fourth Playable we did in Luna for this game, and I will soon talk about it, was really having also a high spike here that maintained for a few weeks here, which is also a successful thing to see, because sometimes you see a spike and a drop very quickly because of different things that can affect it, especially data science of different platforms and media sources. But here you can see that it was really a successful one. And with Invincible Hero, what's interesting really is the ability that we had through Luna to change and create different variables in a super simple and easy way, is really what helped us to have the success here and find really find the best performing creative. Okay, so you can see here different themes. It's not that laggy, by the way. It's just I tried to create a very simple view here. It's very smooth as a playable. I just want you to see that the left on the top is the first playable that we created that really performed for a while, had the best performance. It's showing exactly what you have in the game. This is like the main character that you start with to play the game. It's kind of a short playable, okay, and drive IPM of like 17.5. The second one on the right top is actually, it looks quite similar. It's a little bit longer. So you can see what happened to the IPM. It dropped a little bit, but it still performed well. Okay, it drove a nice amount of installs. And then at the fourth playable, where you saw this spike that we spoke about here, the fourth playable here, we created this last version, and you can see that the character has been switched to a woman. This woman doesn't exist in the game, and we were cooperating with the game developer to really add it and have it in the Unity project. And with really a simple 2 days of production, we were able to export this variation and version of Playable with the woman character. And you can see that eventually it was driving the highest IPM, which this is the most important thing we're looking for when we are changing and trying new creatives, to challenge and to increase our IPM all the time. I think that this is a really great example. On the way, we had a lot of different variables that we tested, and this is really what the biggest benefit in the Luna platform is the ability to switch themes, switch anything that you want inside inside the Unity, and exporting it to a Playable is really easy. It helps us shortening the time of the production and widening the variety of creatives that we're testing. So you can see different themes that we have changed here and tested. They didn't perform that well, but anyway, you have to test it to see and challenge your creatives all the time. So this is really a lot of things. We are usually doing those things with Luna because it's super easy and helpful in terms of production time. And just a little bit of numbers of how successful this was. So you can see that the red columns here are the Luna Playable that went live. Once it went live, it actually just it boosted the game and made the game a successful game. Up until that point, we didn't really scale that much with the game. But once the Luna Playable went live, then you can see a really big boost here. It kind of aligns with the graph that you've seen with App Annie, which makes sense. But still, it's really nice to see what's the portion of all those installs for a specific Playable. And here, Luna Playable really made this game very successful. And here, sorry, going back, the gray part is really the IPM. So you can see the IPM scaling, okay, from what we had from the beginning, which this is a very important part. And here, what's interesting, it's the same graph. It's just showing you the drop in CPI, which this is also the combination that we're looking for. Dropping the CPI will allow us to increase the profit and achieve better scale if the IPM is increasing. So this is really what happened here and was really great and helped the game. And eventually you can see that this is the Luna Playable share of voice. So what was the share of it from all the installs was above 60% in the hype when we were like really in the beginning of publishing this game. And maintained it on the around the 50-60%, which is a really amazing amount of share for a single Playable, and it just makes it very successful as a creative. Last one, very short one, is going to be the case study about Emoji Puzzle, another game that more simple game. That we used Luna to build the Playables. You can see that this was really a top chart game. It reached #1 on Android, iOS, was a really successful, really high volumes, talking about millions and millions of downloads. And here the same graphs as you saw. So Luna Playable is the blue columns right here. And you can see that it is significant in the share that we're seeing. It is affecting the IPM, which starts to increase from the moment that the Playable went live. And you can see here the CPI that is dropping once the Playable goes live. So we're achieving here the performance goals that we are trying to achieve while creating new creatives. And this Playable also has been showing above 60% of the share of voice as a creative. So this is really a really big achievement, and making it a very successful Playable for this game. And just a little bit about like comparing between them in terms of production, because we've seen here two very different games. Invincible Hero and Emoji Puzzle are a very different game, and I think that it's also interesting to see that the platform and Luna are able to really create success stories in any game that you build and that you're using Luna to build the creatives for. And there are things that that will help you more and at some parts and at others. But just to summarize, like the production that we had in Luna and creating those playables. So Emoji, the numbers, we did 5 versions of a playable with a total of 30 variables, which is around like 6 per playable. Okay, and the average production days per playable was 4 days, which is really a short amount of time. We also had some versions that required 2 days of development only. And this is really because we're talking about a very simple game. The mechanism is not very hard. The art and assets there are not complex in terms of like animations and stuff like that. Comparing to Invincible Hero, which is a bit more heavy in a different game than Emoji Puzzle, here we did 4 versions of a playable with a total of 20 variables. And you can see here that the production days is around 6 days. Okay, we had some versions that we needed 8 and 9 days to work on them, and some that we had less. So as long as the developer is working on the Unity project and already knowing it, so of course the production will decrease, but still it required more time to work on it, as it has more complex art and mechanism. But both of them brought eventually success stories for both of the games. Really were a key creative for those games to make them successful, to reach to the top charts, to really be something that is valuable for Supersonic and for the game developers itself that has built them. Thank you. I hope everyone are still with me. And if you have any questions, then feel free.
Yeah, great. Thanks. This was amazing, Karen. I see we have no questions, and I want to remind our attendees your questions are highly welcome in our chat and your requests. We are waiting right now. I think our attendees will use your approach and your analytics and also create unique games. And I hope they go to the top on Apple Store and Google Play.
I hope so.
Same as Emoji game. Okay, we have nice reactions in our chat. Nice job. And we are waiting for a few seconds. Okay, great. Thanks, Karen. Great. Thanks all our speakers and experts for today's time. Our webinar is coming to the end, but I don't say you game over. I say you win this game, because today you have got unique knowledge and unique skills. I want to remind you that you can repeat the step-by-step tutorial by Mike and form your skill in game development and in using Luna Playable plugin. And also we will send you additional materials in tomorrow with useful information from Supersonic Studio and Luna Labs. And see you next time. I hope our webinar was useful for you, and we are going to continue our sessions with our partners and clients. See you next time. You can. Oh, Karen, we have one more question from Decaster. Is it possible to see the playground dashboard, the dashboard to change variables? Could you answer for this question?
Yeah. So
I can repeat. Do you understand this question, or I can repeat this?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Definitely in Luna Playground dashboard, you can see all the different variables that you have built. and their metrics. You can also see the engagement rate and really the time to complete. And there you can see it. I think just we don't have time to show it right now. Right? Or Neil, if you have something in Niles in
yeah, I mean, the good news is anyone can sign up for a free trial. And if you sign up for a free trial, we have a sample game in Playground with variables that you can edit. So you don't need to use the plugin to get started using Playground. So yeah, I'd go ahead to lunalabs.io and just click that trial button, and you can see it for yourself.
Yeah, the dashboard is very intuitive. It's really easy. So I really recommend going there and seeing it, and all the data is shown there.
Great, thanks for your explanation. I see we have no questions. And great thanks to you guys for your expertise today and for sharing the knowledge and your experience. I want to remind that we will send you the post-training email with additional materials, and we will be grateful for your feedback tomorrow or later. And thank you for your time and for participation in our webinar. And great thanks for all our speakers, Niall, Karen, Mike. Great thanks. And please follow Innovecs on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and also please follow Luna Labs and Supersonic. Thank you for your attention and see you later. Goodbye. See you.